Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Lands. Those Muckrakers coming to you live once again through the power of the internet. I'm Pat.
I'm Pete.
I'm Bobby.
And this is episode 108 of Those Muckrakers.
I legitimately thought Bobby was frozen. I was like,
"That's to be striking a pose."
I was on cue. I was trying to,
be there, be ready to start the episode.
Yeah. The way that Zoom works, it's always like,
and then perfect. So if we ever get tired of just like being in the episode, we can just put up a still picture of ourselves in front of it, and just walk off,
just like not stop moving, and be like, oh, we lost him.
Yeah. And then it'd be easier just to hold a pose for like 45 minutes than to endure the podcast, right?
Well, there was a kid apparently somewhere that in order to get out of doing his schoolwork, so he set the virtual background on, but the picture he used was a gray screen that said like buffering. And so he just put that up and then faced his laptop to the wall and muted. And so he just left. So the teacher just thought like, oh, he's having connectivity problems. And he wasn't. And he just, would go and fuck off or do whatever.
Honestly, I would pass that kid.
Yeah, no, that's the ingenuity that Gen Z brings to the table.
That kid's going to be okay in life. You know what? He could skip a few grades.
Yeah. And once you know how to half-ass everything and get away with it, then that's really all you need to be a functioning adult.
Or in the news today, that's all you need to work for the CDC.
Oh, really? Tell us about that, Pete.
So the problem with CDC and the problem with science in general is it's like those articles you see where people are like, there'll be a study done on like the relationship between bacon and like cancer survivors, right? And it's a super long scientific peer-reviewed paper. So the news will go, new study shows bacon cures cancer. And then dumb people that watch the news are like, I don't want to get the cancer. I'm going to eat all this bacon. That's what
those people don't read articles anymore. They just read headlines. That's been a problem for at least 20 years now.
Well,
20 years.
The CDC just like downgraded to like, oh, with the vaccinations and stuff, it's not 6 feet, it's like 3 feet. And that's when everybody went fucking crazy.
Well, really?
Because 3 feet means like, 3 feet, we can pack twice as many people into spaces with no masks.
It's always been abundance of caution. That's why they say 6 feet. Like they're not giving you the exact minimum that you need to be. They're trying to like ballpark it so people have a good idea that if you are this far apart, you're good to go.
They just downgraded it, so now like,
they needed to not.
Like I don't know exactly what's going on with like the
No. Dr. Fauci said today that 6 feet is still the recommendation. It's right. That in certain instances, with mask wearing, children in schools can be 3 feet away, but they have to adhere to, don't get closer to anybody. You have to, wear a mask, constant washing of hands, like just always be washing your hands. Don't touch your face, don't touch your eyes. Like in that specific situation.
But people are taking 3 feet and running with it. We just started in New York. We just started back tentatively doing some in person in high school, and now for some reason they're like 3 feet and like they're acting like school's open again. So no one knows what's going on with that. And I was like, this is why people think bacon cures cancer.
Exactly. Yeah. How many new OCD people do you think we're going to have after the pandemic is over? Because if you do anything for like 6 months, it becomes a lifelong habit, right?
Or
so all this excessive washing your hands is just going to be sticking with people forever that are actually doing it.
How underdiagnosed will OCD become when it just becomes like the norm? Like everyone's like, what do you mean? Of course I wash my hands 65 times a day. You don't?
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. It will bury like diagnostics of OCD because everyone will be acting that way. So yeah, of course, I always do this. I scrub my hands as soon as I touch anything.
It's what are you, an actual crazy person? Of course I am washing my hands after I touch anything.
It's just like there's a game that I play in New York in the wintertime, and it's called, is this person cold or homeless? Because at a certain point in New York in February, everybody's wearing like 6 jackets and like a plastic bag over their head and like a boot on one hand. And you're like, that guy's either cold or he's homeless. And I don't know which. And you play that until about April.
That's like the game of, is this person insane or Bluetooth?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to kind of like try to sneak around to see like both ears to like see if there's a Bluetooth device.
Oh, and it's going to get even worse whenever, fucks like Elon Musk get their way, and we have just the implant that stimulates that is the exact same thing. It's just in your body forever. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying I'm not getting one.
Yeah. No, I think the official stance here of those muckrakers is no biotech. At least not any first gen biotech. No way, man.
Yeah, definitely
Certainly
not
not first gen.
Yeah.
And also, really, I don't want the talk on the phone. I want super strength and speed. I'd like to be able to get away from my phone.
Give me the biotech that gives me like the laser eyes and the hover feet, and then we'll talk.
That's why we're in the darkest timeline. We have never gotten any of the cool stuff that you get in like 2021 of the future. It's all horrible. When we get implants, it's going to be like, oh, did you get bionic strength? No. I just got Pandora stuck on shuffle in my head.
Forever.
Yeah, it went to the ska station I made once when I was drunk, and now I can't get it to stop without going to the doctor. But because I didn't keep up with my Amazon warehouse quota, I lost my job and I have no health insurance.
Yeah, so enjoy Alanis Morissette forever.
Or whatever station it got stuck on. Yeah.
Is Alanis Morissette ska?
I mean, I don't think so, but I would like to see that Alanis Morissette releases
Well, I
a
mean,
ska
you
album.
ought to know.
Is she alive? Hang on.
Yeah, she's still alive. She's she plays a part in a cartoon called the Great North that I've been watching.
Huh.
She actually plays Alanis Morissette as like someone's like imaginary friend. Yeah, she's still alive and kicking. So let's move on real quick to everybody's favorite president, Joe Biden.
Yes.
I really, really hate that Joe Biden continues to give the conspiratorial right just ammunition for everything.
Did you see the thing about the microphone the other day?
Oh my God, there was a
what about microphones?
Oh my God, I was about to say, Bobby.
That's the funniest thing ever.
So he was walking and like his hand, there was some weird camera trick or something, and his hand clipped, like it looked like it went through the microphone. And people were like, "That's green screen."
Oh, he's a hologram.
He's a hologram. He's not real.
Yeah. They believe that he's not really president, and that he's faking being president by pretending to have a bunch of mics in front of him, and that's why they're like #green screen fell or something like that. They're like, see, look, he's real. He's our real president, Donald Trump.
And then he referred to Harris as President Harris, which further, to be fair though, to him, he was vice president for 8 years. So
the person he's with should be president.
Yeah. So I think he's just like Obama, strong black politician. Harris, strong black politician. And his old white brain goes, oh, must be a president, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're matching the shapes, Biden is just like, well, must be president.
Just matching shapes.
Don't worry, we'll have President Kamala in 2028, right? Or 2026. Yeah.
I
don't know.
Well, he fell down
2028.
He fell down the stairs the other day, apparently getting on or off Air Force One.
Yeah, getting on Air Force One, he stumbled, and they're trying to say, "See, Joe Biden, he's too feeble to be president." Jesus Christ, fuck off. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't know how to close an umbrella. They should have removed him from office right there. Like, if you can't, I think this is my political stance. If you don't know how to close an umbrella, you shouldn't have the nuclear codes or have any effect over anything.
But you see, it was a made in China umbrella. See, the Chinese are trying to trick up, God Emperor Trump, and this is why we need a wall.
I will say this though,
a wall between America and China. Just stick it right there in the ocean.
People don't talk about this. Not only was Trump stupid, but he definitely suffered from what I call rich person's disease. Like in Arrested Development, when she's like, "How much could a banana possibly cost? $9, $10." Like he's been in a weird bubble
like
for
20
so
cents.
long. Yeah, he has no idea. That man, if you drop Donald Trump into a country that didn't recognize Donald Trump, that dude he couldn't get groceries on his own.
Yeah,
That's why he referred to paper towels as these wonderful. Oh, they're so soft and white. It's just like the most amazing towel ever. Because he had never handled paper towels before in his life, so he's fascinated by it.
He's basically Brooks from the Shawshank Redemption if Brooks had a bunch of money.
Yeah.
No, I love it. One of my aunts, before they all ran off to Parlor, she posted on Facebook, we're going to go back to using cursive, and then everyone under 35 will be completely lost and lose their jobs. And I'm sitting here going, I haven't written anything down with a pen in months, but I still remember how to write in cursive. And it's not that much. But anyway, no. So I just commented on her post. I said, and we're going to stop answering all your tech support questions, and you're going to starve to death because the computer is now your car.
They really do. There is a segment that really does believe that because they were raised with less technology, that they are far superior to anybody, and that like they're the backbone of America, that these kids these days are soft. And I'm like, you do realize we can Google up anything that you can do. I can YouTube how to build a fucking house.
Yeah.
And then do it. Like,
and then do it. That people do it all the time. That like the whole DIY thing has exploded.
And not only that, you could YouTube search building my own home, and there's 8,000 different ways to do it. It's not these 5 books in the local county library.
Yeah.
Which I love libraries. We need to continue funding them, but it's
neat.
What?
I said just because they're neat. Libraries are neat.
Oh well, no. I mean, they're necessary. They're internet access for some people, and that's very important.
Not everyone has internet, so.
Yeah. Also, a library is a very good place for accessing public records. It's very, very important to be able to continue to access public records. But anyway, getting off that. But it's like, it's this whole, we didn't need computers whenever I was coming up. I'm like, that's nice, ma'am. This is a Wendy's. And yes. I'm going to use this computer to ring up your order. Oh, and by the way, you were a teenager in the 70s. Not only did you have computers, they affected your life. Like, I mean, even in the 70s, stuff like traffic lights, they were already being computerized. Like they were by the end of the 1960s, we were getting away from mechanical timed apparatus.
It's the it's the fallacy of this was a better time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's just a weird kind of grass is greener. Like, oh man, back then, what a better time. You're really telling me that like if someone from Pioneer Times could come to 2021, that they would be like, no, I don't. I'd like to go back home and die of yellow fever because old Doc Jones is going to take too long to get here, and my whole family will die in front of me.
Yeah, there's someone who photoshopped a book cover, and it's like just like a face with 3 screaming mouths, and like more faces with screaming mouths coming out of it in this desolate wasteland. And the title of the book is just "All of the Past Was Terrible."
Yeah,
and it's so fucking true. And it's like had to explain to a 68-year-old woman at a bar one night who, by the end of the conversation, called me a bearded Marxist for explaining to her how Social Security works. and anyway, it was in the middle of this conversation.
Like, hey, socialism, but she's
in the middle of this conversation. We got off on trans rights, and she's like, "I don't know. There was none of that whenever I was coming up." And I was like, "No, there was.
They had no rights when she was coming up.
They had no rights and no visibility whenever you were coming up. They were terrified you were going to kill them, and some of them killed themselves over it.
It's kind of like
don't put that in an obituary. The family would have been ashamed."
The Duck Dynasty guy, I don't know if you remember one of the many things he said. By the way, was I the only one not surprised when the Duck Dynasty patriarch came out as weird and racist.
I mean, not the stereotype, but they did sort of look that way.
Well, the world seemed genuinely surprised.
I'm from Louisiana, and I would like to apologize on behalf of the Pelican State for allowing those fucks on TV.
Well, he goes, there was a statement. He goes, he's like, you know, we used to live alongside black people back in my day, and everything was fine till this civil rights came around and done got them stirred up. They were plenty happy before that. And I'm like, man, has anybody told this guy what acting is yet?
Yeah, like the guy back in his day, they were terrified to say anything that might piss off the local whiteys and get them, you know, killed. So you know, they just sort of acted like you said, polite.
This guy
off to the side.
This guy must think that Tom Cruise is America's super spy.
He's not.
Like, what do you mean? No, I seen it. Tom Cruise did all those missions. He's a super spy. What the hell's an actor? Because that's the only.
He rode under that helicopter and he got on it. He jumped from his car to the helicopter.
That's the only way you could explain not understanding why people of color living in the South were nice, quote unquote, nice to you before civil rights.
Just that image from that movie comes to mind of I baked you a pie.
Just like, oh my god. I don't even know. We got I don't remember what we got off on that, but like, oh my god, like I don't know. It's very similar to when me and my girlfriend when we've run into stuff. There was a lady that lives in our building that came and like leaned into our car one day and wouldn't go away, and she starts just dropping.
Is this the one that's banging on your door all the time? Or
no, this lady likes us, and so she starts telling a story about traffic and starts just dropping the N-bomb gratuitously. And my girlfriend's just like, oh my god, and I'm just over here like shields down, like let's just drive away. Like I lived in the South so long that I was like I wasn't as fazed by it, but she's from Queens. She's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, that's there you go.
That's
it happens. In the South, it's just like a weather condition. You know, it's rainy, it's hot, it's racist, just a bit out. So
I was like,
you're used to it a bit. But
welcome to a good quarter of my high school experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember very specifically this kid, which was weird. He was a bully to me, but we were all in the locker room, and he was like, he legitimately wanted, as he said, to start a race riot in the locker room. And I remember thinking, I've never liked you. I'm going to stab you in the back as soon as you turn around to fight any non-white people. And I'm going to continue stabbing you until you stop moving.
And another thing, just speaking of racism that's been in the news lately, is all the Asian hate crimes have been on the rise.
Oh my god!
More than just like the 6 women that were shot. It was like 6 out of 8 that were killed were Asian, and it was specifically because they were Asian. Like that's what the guy was targeting. And then the police chief who also had racist propaganda on his person, or was found to have it. He tried to excuse the guy as just having a bad day.
Yeah, specifically anti-Asian racist posts, like very specific, very particular anti-Asian racism that had been fomented and by our previous president.
Yeah.
Like
yes, and he's still fomenting it, and Fox News is still repeating it. You know, the whole thing about how it's the Chinese virus, folks. And my current girlfriend is also Asian, so she's been like really sensitive to that, and like that's been straight bumming her shit out. Like that's not just something for her to see and get outraged by. That's something for her to see and be scared by.
Well, it's upsetting that like this guy, that anybody in any is trying to in any way depict this as not a straight up like racist hate crime. They're like, no, he was mad because he had a sex addiction, and he said that they. I'm like, so he had a sex addiction to Asian women who he murdered. That's pretty racially motivated.
Well, and now it's come out that he had attended like an away camp for adults that like dealt with sex and porn addiction. it's like one of these Christian things. So it's
Yeah.
like really multifaceted. Not only is it, and someone pointed this out, and it's you know, it's kind of always, if you're, you know, listening to people of color, it's always in the back of your mind that it's not always in the back of, but it comes up, and it always kind of shocks me. It's like one of my blind spots of this intersection between not viewing people of other races as people, but then also viewing them as objects.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's these Asian women were the object of his desire, and feeds into this, you know, history spanning European obsession with the submissive Asian woman.
Which is weird
And-
because it generally plays against type, because a lot of Asian societies are very matriarchal and
very assertive.
Yeah, and very, very, very assertive, which is very weird that like they have this idea of like the submissive Asian woman. Because I'm like, have you never seen like an Asian grandma or have Asian friends and talked about their mom? Like, not it's a weird fantasy that I don't understand. It's because these people have never met any actual Asian people before. Like, it's that racism. We're like, yeah, just believe what I.
Outside of the massage parlor.
Yeah, outside of the massage parlor. Yeah, it's like I've never.
Anime.
Yeah, like it's
also,
just,
even though this shooting was like very visible, it's not a one-time thing. Like in the last year since COVID started, Asian hate crimes have been increased 150%.
Yeah.
What is it? There were 3,800 anti-Asian racist incidents, mostly against women in the past year. Asian Americans reported being targeted at least 500 times in the last 2 months. Like, this is a trend.
Yeah, it's happening.
And it's an upward trend.
You know, people like to talk about how blue New York is. It's really bad in New York, like all the race-based attacks on like Asian people on the subway and stuff like that. Like it's absolutely insane. Like you'll just be standing on the street and like somebody just comes up and is like, I hate Asians, and just starts hitting you. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's people, well, especially white people who look at and you see it all the time. You know, oh, I can't believe that like, I understand that racism exists, but I can't believe that this has happened, or I don't understand why. Well, of course you don't understand why. It's because racism is in itself illogical.
Yeah.
And it's not based in reality.
Exactly.
Now, while the average white person may not themselves be actively racist, we do benefit from systems and et cetera that, you know, have been based in race, or have been abused, or have been twisted in order to be abused, in order to, you know, like how everybody on this continent is using drugs at about the same rate. About 30% of white people, 30% of Asians, 30% of Black people, 30% of Hispanics and Latinos are using drugs. However, Black people and Hispanic people who are put away for drug crimes vastly outnumber whites and Asians in the criminal justice system. So
that's
they're
Ronald
catching
Reagan's fault.
people who are using and or dealing drugs, but the system is coming down hard. So in essence, it is equitable on the front end, but then on the back end with the sentencing, it's not.
And to circle back around to something too, he went to one of those sleepaway. It's very weird if you weren't raised in like sort of the Christian background. There's some weird stuff that like you don't know about from the outside, but like the anti-porn, anti-sex Christianity thing is really weird. I was reading a thing the other day that somebody had posted something, so I went down the rabbit hole of these anti-porn movements, and it's horrible. It's like before we had any kind of like understanding of alcoholism, where people would just tell you to white knuckle it, you know, like not to make a masturbation joke, you know, like white knuckling it, but they all the things, all the stories were just like, I wanted to get that sticky white devil out of my life, and I tell you what, I prayed to the Lord and he helped me stop it, and so you're basically just trying to like suppress a natural instinct, and then of course like it's not healthy, it's going to come out in some way, you know, and especially if you're racist and crazy, it's going to come out shooting up a bunch of Asian people.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, look, I did in college, I used to be very conservative Catholic. Like, I went on mission trips to Mexico in order to convert the Protestants to Christianity.
How much do I just always want to ask, how much do the people of Mexico hate that?
I honestly don't know. And that's part of the whole like white savior from America thing is we're not asking. We're not asking. I mean, we did do some good things. We helped rebuild a school that had been damaged when a landslide hit. Like we helped lay foundation, clear away debris and stuff like that. We did. There was an elderly blind man. We painted his house because like the town had come together to kind of help him out because of course he couldn't work and everything. And he was, basically illegally living in his own home that he had since gone blind. So we did help people, but at the same time
I just feel terrible. The whole town's just like, man, your house is so beautiful, we've repainted it, and he's just like,
yeah,
can't see.
No, but in college I was in with a group of other like conservative Catholic dudes in southern Louisiana, and that the whole anti-masturbation thing was big with these guys. Like, and I made it about 3 weeks, but there were dudes who claimed that they had never masturbated. And there were like, I mean, it was, very Christian of them, but boasting and bragging about, oh, well, I haven't masturbated in so long, I'm getting wet dreams, which was okay because that was the natural way for that to be expelled, was wet dreams. That was that you were not just abstaining from sex before marriage, but you were not going to masturbate before marriage or in marriage.
There's a lot of weird loopholes in Catholicism.
What now?
I said there's a lot of interesting loopholes in Catholicism.
I meant Wilda. Sorry. You had a question.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third man on the podcast, too.
Go for it. No, I have a question.
Huh? What? I'm on a podcast. How did I get here?
No, I was waiting for the people in the closet to pull me away.
Modern Christianity is very weird. A lot of times I'll tell Sam stuff about it. She's like, "Do what?" I'm like, "Yeah, you guys didn't do that growing up." She's like, "No."
No, there were women at my college. Like, there was a Catholic campus ministry, and it was oh God, now I'm blanking on the name of it, but and in college, and there was a little coffee shop with like just usual campus ministry for people of a particular faith can come and hang out, do stuff. And one of my fondest memories has to be of so there was this convent down the street that like volunteered at the university chapel and everything, and one of the nuns, she was from the Dominican Republic. She came to the coffee shop one day, this itty-bitty woman, and they had just got a new house. Somebody had left a house to them in their will so that they would have somewhere other than apartments to live. And she came into the student union, pointed at me and 5 other dudes and went, "You are all going to come and help me right now. Come on, you're going to come and help." We're like, okay, so I have class. And she's like, "You don't have class. I'll write you a note. I'm a nun. I can write you a note to get you out of this. It's fine." And we went to the convent, the new convent, the old house, but it's new to them. And she was like, "I was up here cleaning these rooms before we moved into them, and part of the carpet came up. And can you believe this? There's hardwood floor under here. You're going to rip up all of this carpet, and we're going to feed you barbecue and give you free beer." And I was like, "And you're going to write me a note for the class, right?" She goes, "I will write you a note for the class. It's fine." It's one of the best times, getting plastered, absolutely hammered with about 10 nuns.
See, that
sounds great.
It's so unfair.
Why can't that be all of Catholicism? Well, if that was like the deal, I rip up a carpet and get like beer and barbecue.
We were raised Southern Baptists, so they were.
If you add freedom, you're the Trump guy, the Biden crime family guy. All you have to do is just add freedom. Beer, freedom, and barbecue.
We in Southern Baptist, you weren't allowed to drink or do anything. So it was like Catholicism without the loopholes. Terrible.
Well, in Catholicism, I actually did have a friend who his parents were divorced. His dad was Catholic, his mom was Baptist, and in Catholicism, you always go, the children will be raised in the religion of the mother.
Right.
Even if that's not Catholicism. So he had been raised Baptist. Well, anyways, parents got divorced, and then in adulthood, he had converted to Catholicism, like he had reconnected with his dad, and he was like getting into it and everything. And I was like, well, that's really awesome, because I was still Catholic, and I was like, that's great, you're another soul for the thing. And he goes, yeah, no, it's great for my dad too. He's like, I can finally drink with my son.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
out of all the sects, all the Christian sects to be raised in, I feel like Southern Baptist,
You got the dry one with no dancing.
no dancing. Like, man, during
dancing.
when you're singing, there's not even any of this. No, that's rowdy. Like, put them down. Maybe maybe some gentle swaying, but that's it.
Swing with the dog.
Yeah. It is by
Welcome
far
to the dog cast.
It is by far one of the most restrictive
Jump down.
It's awful. So we
Those
didn't have
pump breakers.
we didn't have a ton of I said I forgot today was Friday, so I didn't pull up a bunch of news. Besides
We still have our ideal governments. Are we going to do those next time?
Yeah.
I mean, we can definitely break into those today. We
are supposed to this episode.
Well,
we're supposed to last episode technically.
One of the things we like to do is generally just tease stuff like next episode that never happens.
Yeah.
Which might be why we have like 5 listeners who I think are just people that accidentally stumbled onto the podcast.
Yeah, the last one on YouTube got 12 views total, at least the last time I checked, and I'm pretty sure like 6 of those were just me checking how many views we got.
It keeps going up every time I check.
Yeah. I know on SoundCloud we'd get like 50 to 100 listens, but that's kind of not happening right now because we don't have the sound file for the last episode.
Yeah, no, we'll put all that up. Yeah, if we want to go into our ideal governments, we absolutely can. Who would like to go first? We'll counterpoint this.
Well, you had talked about oh God, who were you talking about? Was it Noam Chomsky?
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about his, or rather your ideal government, because you love him?
I love him because he's the only person I've ever been able to sit down and watch with like one of my conservative friends, and we all like end up agreeing on his main points, even though they tend to go back to being, douchey. Sidebar about political systems real quick. Why are libertarians so snarky and so smug? Does anybody notice that?
Yeah, it's because they're not, on the right or left, so they feel like, well, technically they're more on the right than anything. But they just like to be different, I think. They enjoy the fact that they're different and that they get 5% of the vote at best.
It's libertarian capitalists that are really snarky. It's libertarian socialists. I don't know. I haven't found them to be that.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they won't ever tell you what they are. They're like, I'm not either side, I'm something.
People think I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
That's because you are.
Yeah, I'm something.
Yeah,
I'm something super.
That likes to get high.
I'm something super unique. I'm like, no, you're not. Like,
you're a Republican pothead. You want to be racist, but still while you do it.
It's my favorite comeback of all time to someone says, I'm fiscally conservative but socially liberal, and someone came back at that with, we get it, you want to smoke weed but fuck poor people, like we understand.
Yeah. I would call myself fiscally conservative in that, like, I would like to stop dumping money into like the ocean and give it to people that need it, because I feel like that's kind of like with the money that you dump into defense contractors and stuff for like crap you don't even need, and people are like, can I just get some money for food? They're like, you're lazy, go die. And
pull yourself up by your bootstraps, son. We need to go buy another $2 billion jet that's going to sit in the yard.
Whenever I hear bootstraps, I will say this: MLK would have killed as a stand-up comedian, number one. Solid. And one of the I can't remember which speech it's from, but to me it's one of the best, like, oh yeah, kind of like lines where he says, like, it's a cruel joke to tell a man who has no boots to pull himself up by his bootstraps. And like every time I hear that, I'm like, get him, you tell him, because that's exactly, yeah, I guess pull yourself up by your ankle skin. I don't know. you know.
Grab yourself by the ankles, flip upside down. You're good to go.
All right, let's bootstrap a new form of government. What's your?
All right, so I've always enjoyed the idea of anarchy because I hate anybody telling me what to do. You know, especially when I didn't get to choose the person or like the system in which they tell me what to do. Like, if you had given me a choice, like, do you want to do this like an electoral college, or do you want to maybe do something different? I would have never picked the electoral college, but I didn't get to pick that. So,
Strong counterpoint. As soon as no one tells you what to do, someone's going to tell you what to do, because people naturally congregate around a charismatic individual, and the person that they're going to congregate around is most likely going to be a demagogue like Trump, and so then Trump will just be president for life.
I'll add this. I will add this. What Noam Chomsky talked about in the way that like anarchy does work is that any form of government or anybody in charge has to be able to justify why they are in charge, or they no longer get to be in charge. So it was basically a thing of like constantly questioning the power structures. And if the person's like, well, I'm in charge because I say so, then you don't get to be in charge anymore. So under this, if I'm like, I don't like anybody telling me what to do, and they're like, we elected a demagogue, I'd be like, then why are you in charge? And when he can't give a satisfactory answer, he doesn't get to tell me what to do anymore.
But who enforces the rules?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't like
anarchy.
Well, I mean, you're like the grandpa version of anarchy. You're like, well, there's no rules. I can do anything I want. Like, you still have rules. You just have to justify power structures. Like,
that sounds good. Yeah.
Anarchy as a political system, and the term like it's anarchy are like not the same. It's the same way that people constantly, and I would say purposefully, misunderstand socialism. So anyway, basically, I just want people in power to have to justify power, and I want a more equitable share of like society's wealth. Really, those are my two main things.
It's just ironic that Wesley's currently interrupting the podcast for me, because I see his messages popping up across my phone. I shall drink home today. So, okay, Wesley, you made it into the podcast after all.
Good old Wesley. Yeah, so that's the basic I got from Noam. And also, you know, me trying to translate Noam Chomsky is just like those people that say bacon cures cancer. Like his stuff.
Yeah, that's the headline version of him.
Yeah, he's really smart. It takes a lot to digest what he writes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So who's next?
Anarchy.
Are we gonna rock, paper, scissors for it?
I don't know. I mean, somebody take it away.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, so you won.
This is gonna work. This is gonna work great on the podcast version. Are they playing rock, paper, scissors right now?
For those of you who are just listening, Wilda threw rock and Bobby threw scissors. Wilda takes the next government type, or
yes.
The
next idealized form of government. So, what I thought would be the best form of government is the classic philosopher's king from Plato's Republic. The just one person who knows more than anyone else, who also does not want to be the ruler, is nominated as the ruler of everyone. Because I do believe in a dictatorship, but a benevolent dictatorship. I don't believe in a democracy because people are stupid. Trump proved that you can't trust people to make up their own minds. So find one person who genuinely knows better than everyone else. They will lay out the law of the land. They will say, this is how it's done. And they will say so based on a wisdom beyond any of their peers. And maybe they could have like a council to help guide them. But at the end of the day, I believe in leadership from the top ruling the world. Yes, Peter?
I have a question. In this ideal philosopher king form of government, as they said in Hamilton, what comes next?
What comes next?
How do you decide a line of succession? Because that's always been the problem with like kings and like dictatorships.
Yeah, it always boils down into some sort of like, you know, lineage where, oh, well, you know, his great grandmother was, you know, blessed by God. So his whole family is blessed by God. First of all, how do you pick the philosopher king, which was going to be my question. But I mean, it ties into his question as well. Like what happens next?
It's the same thing. Whenever he dies, we'll pick a new one. And So how we pick them to begin with, again, it has to be someone who is qualified, but also, so they have to go through a series of rigorous tests. Find people that might, that the village knows as being wise beyond their years, and then they're all forced to show up and take the test to see who is the greatest of them all. Then that person leads. Now, back in the day, in Plato's time, the philosopher was the wisest person because they're the one that asked all the questions. And asking questions, the way Socrates did, was how people knew the world. That's the best understanding of the world as they knew it. It's just a question, 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 everything. Nowadays, the leading philosophy is the scientific method. So I believe we'll pick someone who is the most proficient at the scientific method, your Neil Tysons and stuff. And we'll put them all in a room and just examine each of them to decide who is the most knowledgeable of the world, who is the most knowledgeable of what makes people tick, of what would be the best leader of the land, to who knows the most about the land, who knows the most about the people, who knows the most about what will help people live their lives to the fullest, meet the Maslow hierarchy for the greatest number of people. What do we do for people that fall short of that? And then that person will be elected as the philosopher king of this era, or the scientist king.
Question: modern. Who designs the test? How do we design this test?
I'd also like to add in there, I really like the test thing, because I've always thought it sucks that you just get to run for president. You should literally have to run for president. There should be a physical agility test. There should be like an SAT. Like there should be a lot of different, like I would love to see candidates be like, all right, you're going to have to run this 26-mile marathon. And then after you're done with that, we'll see what you score in the SAT.
Well, I think it was Martin Van Buren's campaign. They had, it was a keep the ball rolling affair. They had a giant tin and paper mache ball that they physically rolled from town to town that was like covered in campaign slogans and flyers and stuff. And it was come out and see Martin Van Buren's ball. And that was the campaign events. And it was, sort of an attraction from town to town. It's sort of a little bit like what you're saying. I don't know if Van Buren or whoever the hell, it might not have been.
It would have been great if it was either chained to Van Buren or he had to push it himself like
he was
alone.
inside of it like a hamster.
I'm coming through. I'm so tired. Please.
We're on his hands pushing with his feet.
Yet.
I need water. It's so hot.
Why did we add all these states so far west?
Yeah, I just really want to see. I want to see my leadership. Like I really want to see them both mentally and physically, like a ninja warrior type thing they have to do, and also like an SAT type thing they have to do, and see who scores the best.
Yeah, and the winner will offer him the position, and if they say yes, they're like, nope, runner up then. And then we'll go to him, and the first person that just straight up does not want it is the philosopher king. They have to reject it to be nominated as, well, now you're the ruler against your will or whatever.
I mean, but it seems as though this would be a system from the word go, rife for corruption. Because if people know that it's whoever says they don't want to, they'll just simply say, whenever they're power hungry, yeah, I don't want to rule. No, please don't throw me in the briar patch. Like, I think that's kind of a, do you keep it secret? That's how it works? And in which case, then you have this like leadership cabal that knows the secret of this mystery government and how the leader's chosen. Like that's on the surface, that's one of the flaws that I see in the plan.
Another route we could take is just to kidnap all the leading scientific minds, like about 50 of them, and then Hunger Games them. And then the winner is the leader.
Ah, yes.
I actually like that. I would love an island full of scientists, and they were like, all right, only one of you's going to make it out of here. And like, they're just like devising traps and trebuchets. And
or if they refuse, we're just like, okay, so you're all going to slowly starve to death until there's only one of you. And then you get to be the leader.
Yeah, I like that. Scientist Island. Well, I'm taking your idea and I'm just turning it straight into like Super Science Island.
Perfect. Oh no, what if they all get together and develop like a giant robot to wipe out the people testing them?
That's great.
Yeah. Like they're the smartest people in the world. I'm sure they can figure out how to fight back against the system.
They could use the giant robot to improve humanity. That's great. You put them under stress, they'll do amazing things. We can't lose with this. Yeah.
True. After they wiped out the testers, then they can use their robot to better humanity.
The best part about this is what's going to
just
happen.
Nixon's frozen head in a jar on a giant robot.
Nixon's back, baby.
What's going to be great about Scientist Island is what's going to happen to your Steve Jobses and your Elon Musks when you realize that they could never make shit. It's always been like a super science team behind them, and they're just going to die like first, you know?
Why, I could no sooner harm you than I could my dog Checkers. Shut up, damn it.
I like that. I feel like I want to name this episode Scientist Island.
I was gonna name it white-knuckling it, but Science Island works too.
Science Island, the most ideal form of government.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, my turn.
Yes, hit us.
Yes.
Hit us,
Okay.
Bobby.
So my ideal form of government is based in part because Marx on the Paris Commune. And for people who don't know, the Paris Commune was basically an experiment in democratic anarchy. Like, try to, because what a lot of people don't understand, and we were talking about, just the headline of it. People don't understand that anarchy seeks to, I mean, the best way that I found to describe it is that you're seeking to undo unnatural and unjust hierarchies. So a natural hierarchy would be a parent's control over a child. That's a natural hierarchy. It helps the civilization continue because the parent knows that the stove is hot, so the parent slaps the hand of the child when they reach for the hot stove. That's violence against the child. However, it's justified because the parent knows more, and the parent knows if I hurt the child, they won't do it again, but they won't be burned.
Right.
So I'm hurting them less than what their action would be. An unnatural hierarchy would be, well, a natural hierarchy, an unnatural hierarchy would be, we don't hire gay people because the Bible told us not to.
Or my building telling me that I can't put unbagged trash down the chute.
That is violence against you. You need to organize your tenants and overthrow the landlord. But anyway, no. A natural hierarchy would be, an unnatural hierarchy would be, I don't bake cakes for gay people because a God that I can't prove exists told me to.
Right.
And that would also be an unjust hierarchy because everybody likes cake.
Right.
But a natural hierarchy that can become an unjust one is women on average are weaker in upper body strength than men on average. That's a natural hierarchy. That is definitely true. However, where you come into the unjust nature of that would be saying, well, then because it's on average, no women can apply for this job because it requires you to continually lift 50 pounds over a long stretch of time. That's a natural hierarchy creating an unjust system, saying, well, women need not apply. All right. And it's been applied, things like that have been applied to say, Black people can't work here. They're not smart enough, that sort of thing. Well, anyway, to get around a huge problem that we have in democracy where things boil down into a two-party system or a rather stagnant multi-party system, which we see in countries like the UK. I mean, they are a multi-party system. They are effectively a two-party system. You always have either the Conservatives or Labour. The Liberal Democrats are gone. The Green Party has one member. UKIP was a single-issue party. The Brexit Party is a single-issue party. SNP is a single-issue party. So they've just sort of stagnated into a two-party system. Well, anyway, how do we prevent that from happening? Do we ban political parties? Well, no, not necessarily. You don't have to. What you have to do is get rid of elections. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, how is it democracy if we get rid of elections? We now turn from Paris to ancient Athens. Oh, sorry. What I want to take from the Paris Commune is no mayors, no governors, no presidents. We're done with them. In their place, you have an executive council, and the executive council They're not meant to be rock stars. They don't have to run for office. They are selected by the legislature, which is elected, or as I'll get to in a moment, how I'd like the government to be run.
So I was gonna get in. I've always thought that with the idea of a chief executive, like when they built our government, I don't understand why it had to be one guy. Or I really feel like you could have made the chief executive spot a smaller council, but it could have been 2 or 3 guys that become president, and they're basically the office of chief executive. I say 3 because that way you can never deadlock. 2 will always be able to outvote 1.
Yeah. Well, here's my idea. So you have a legislature that is selected from the people, and this legislature will be advised by essentially professional guilds. So if there is a piece of legislation that involves the law, you would ask the Bar Association, and the Bar Association would provide experts in this particular field. If it concerns engineering, say like public works, you would contact a guild of architecture and a guild of engineers. And it would literally be everyone who is certified to say that they are an engineer is a member of this group, and they elect directly the representatives to go to the committees of the legislature in order to explain these things. So basically, it's the legislature is almost always in committee. Now, how do we get the legislature without political parties becoming a huge thing? Very, very simple. A sorted lottery system. Everyone over a certain age who is, maybe not run afoul of the law is entered, just like jury duty, into a selection instead of an election. So you would have the selected representatives, and there's no Senate. Fuck the Senate in this version. The Senate is stupid. We don't need a bicameral Congress. We just need a single body. And
to be fair, that all came down. The whole reason that exists. The bicameral legislation was to keep the slave states in the Union when making the country. It's the only reason we have a Senate instead of just a president and a Congress.
But now some people will say, oh, well, this whole sorted lottery system, what if you get a moron in there? We already have morons in there. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a person, okay? And I'm sure someone on the right will say, oh, AOC is a person. Anyway,
my question is though,
actually going back to
does this not concern you that the guild system would lead to just never-ending gridlock because of like special interests?
Well, they're an advisory role only.
Okay,
they're in an advisory role only. And how we handle the courts is that through the Bar Association, we would after a certain period of tenure is met working as an attorney, you would then be eligible to enter, not forced to enter, but eligible if you wanted to enter the magistrate circuit, which basically says you're going to be selected at random by lottery to take 1 year of your life and go be a judge. And then whenever that year is up, you're out and the next person is in. And that's how that works.
I like this. I like this system so much.
The reason for the random sortition is that you automatically get, if it is a true random selection, you automatically get an actual diverse representative body. And of course, people are allowed to say no. They're allowed to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to represent this district or whatever. And we could keep it 2 years. We could make it 6. Who knows? But the sorted legislature would be far, far, far more representative in age demographics, race demographics, and gender demographics of the actual people of the country. And believe it or not, this is how Athens worked. Now, the only people who could be sorted into the Athens legislature were white, Greek, educated landowning men. But if we take that and say everyone over the age of 25, which 25 might be too old, everyone over the age of 25 is allowed, it's exactly like jury duty. If you're registered to vote, you're registered to be selected. And you're, pardon me, now this doesn't
like
take
jury
care of the
duty,
problem.
but more people would want to win.
Yeah. Because if you could,
Yeah.
if you could be a congressman, like hell yeah, I would go be a congressman if I got randomly selected.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
it
if
would.
it's like 2 years of your life, and if you're a new mom or a new dad or new parent, whatever, and you're like, I can't be away from my kid for that long, but I've been selected, and you don't want to do it, that's fine. If you're a curmudgeon and you believe that the government is run by lizard people and you don't want to be assimilated, you can say no and just
Yeah.
not go.
And then
That's
you
fine. And then
and
the
then you'll go to
system will
Science
And
Island.
then you ain't getting me.
select someone else. Yeah. And I meant to say, if we were to have an executive, the executive would be selected from this legislature. It would be very much a prime minister, and they would rule for however long that class of sorted legislators are in power. And you could totally still have political parties, like people saying, oh, well, I identify with the Democrats or the Republicans or the Libertarian Socialists or whoever. And, and those parties can still operate because not everything is going to be sorted. There will be political appointments, there will be, things like that. But you would have that. And if say a committee in this sorted legislature doesn't like the experts that they've been given by, say, the Engineers Guild, they ask for another round of engineers.
Now, do you
and
worry
all
that
of the magistrates would have to be approved? All the randomly sorted judges would have to be approved by this sorted body.
Now, do you worry that this would dilute power too much to the point in which we were unable to effectively govern?
No, I think that average people are far more, and also because this is removing we'll call it the Joe Manchin problem. He is the only Democrat besides Warnock and Ossoff who's from a red state. West Virginia is deeply red. If you look at Joe Manchin's voting record, he is a Trump Democrat,
which
is
right
weird. Now he's the one vote. He's the one vote that is needed. Anything going through the Senate right now has to go past Joe Manchin, and he is eating this shit up. He is absolutely, I have the power now, da 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 da. With the sorted system, that goes away.
Yeah,
you have.
It's weird. It's always weird to me that West Virginia is a red state, because West Virginia only exists because Virginia seceded from the Union, and West Virginia said fuck that and seceded from Virginia, and they were like strongly unionist because
we secede from the secession.
It turns out mountain people didn't really benefit from slavery because you can't grow crops in the mountains. So all the slavers looked down on the mountain people, and the mountain people were like, fuck y'all. So it's weird that West Virginia is so red.
Yeah.
Like, just blows my mind.
Yeah. But and there would also be, sort of a test, sort of not, but just making sure that people are mentally competent, because you can get, if you set the age as low as 17, which I don't come out of the gate saying, but I think that 17 should be the voting age, and I think that 17 should be, in this idealized form of government, the age that someone can be sorted from voting. If you're able to vote, you're able to go and be sorted. Is that you could end up with extremes. You could end up with someone from, say, Georgia's 1st district here in Savannah, a 17-year-old going to Washington, whereas Metro Atlanta might get an 109-year-old great-grandmother, and it's the differences in those two viewpoints. Maybe I can never say that. They can't be
irreconcilable.
Yeah.
Irreconcilable.
Cannot be reconciled.
Must be a French word. Too many consonants. But yeah. So adding on to I'm not opposed to the Philosopher King idea. I just feel like it's rife for abuse. And I think one of the ways that you could improve it would be sort of like what the Ottomans did with, basically they had, the Ottomans and the Ming did, which was essentially you had, and I'm not saying that we castrate people, but you had eunuchs living in with the harem, essentially. And these eunuchs were basically, like, maybe we could have people can
Well,
That's what we can do to
in order to
the
get
Mitch
the
McConnells
philosopher
and John
king,
Mansions of the world.
in order to get the wisest people, you would have to start them from a very early age. So say if we were in, feudalist times, what I would do to keep the empire alive is that I would require all of my lords and barons and dukes and whatever, your second born child must be brought to the Imperial Academy, and you can never see them again. They are no longer your children, they're the Emperor's children. And then they are raised from birth to be the next emperor. But they're not really told what they're going to school for. They're just, children who are being taken care of in the imperial school. And then when the emperor becomes of a certain age, then he or she starts searching for the replacement candidate and a backup, an heir and a spare.
There's another
and
problem.
Those two people, once they're approved by some diet or something like that, they are then selected out of a group that the emperor would provide a group. The Diet, the Holy Roman Empire's Council, whatever, brings it down to 5, and then the emperor picks a winner and a runner-up, and that is your heir and a spare. Boom, Philosopher King, you got it.
The only problem too that is that with kings as well is even he's a great king throughout history, kings have gotten injured or gotten sick. Maybe it's hereditary, but things have happened to them that completely changed. They've gone out of their mind, and now you have a guy with all the power and no real things in place to remove him.
Yeah. Well, no, that would be the purpose. That would be the purpose. You would need like a diet, a council of advisors who could 25th Amendment the Philosopher King out of there if he after 80 years of ruling lost his marbles.
Which is
great. Too much syphilis, we got to get him out of there.
Which is great because the 25th Amendment doesn't even really work.
No,
it doesn't.
Everyone, you're too scared to use it. That's the whole thing. They're always too scared to use it.
Current government is because Republicans want to hold on to power no matter what. And the biggest way to do that is always project power. And as long as at the end of the day they can say, "Well, nothing happened," then they can pretend like nothing happened. Trump keeps getting impeached, but they don't vote to actually do anything, so they can always say it was just a democratic attack and let that be on the history books. Is what happened.
It's like
Mitch McConnell is spot on, by the way. I'm sorry.
It's like
thank you.
It's like they told us when I started teaching. They're like, never threaten a student with a punishment that you're not actually going to do, because as soon as you do that, you lose all power. So effectively, they had to move forward with impeachment, but by not actually having any consequences for twice impeaching a president, I would argue that impeachment is effectively dead, and no president need ever fear it again because it happened twice, and he can still run again.
Same guy, and they're talking about him running in 2024.
So
here's the thing: every president since I think George W. Bush, they've been exponentially expanding what the office of the president has been able to do.
Since FDR, they have been expanding and expanding and expanding. We've just had it's geometric rates at this point, but
the problem with
Trump is basically the president who expanded it to the point in which the president is above the law. He is the God Emperor King. He can never be removed.
The problem with FDR was he does the problem I call where even if you're doing something for good as the chief executive, once you've stretched out that collar, it doesn't go back into place. So what FDR could do, now anyone can do. And like you said, they just keep building on it and building on it and building on it till we have a God King.
Or until we have a Nixon. Well, it's not illegal if the president does it.
Yep.
President, it's not illegal.
Well, we are running short on time here. I will say for the next episode that we're going to bring you, we're going to do how would we get the government to change? Like what directions would we take if we could kind of play God with the government to make changes? What is possible and what would be ideal?
Violent uprising led by cat girls.
Very, very quickly, I say another lottery system, except from the short novel, The Lottery, where all the politicians' names are entered into a drawing. And if the crops aren't growing for people, we pick one of their names from the hat, and that's the one that gets stoned to death so the crops will grow.
I'm fine with that. If the economy is going bad,
burn them on a pyre.
Yeah, every time the economy goes bad, we stone somebody from the House and from the Senate randomly.
Yep. And then the Dow will grow.
Yeah, and if the Dow does not grow, we continue to do this till the Dow grows, or we have to elect a new Congress and Senate.
Mhm. All right.
No, I loved it whenever that one couple set fire to half of California in the gender reveal party. I loved it.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think it was at Potato tweeted, and I will continue revealing genders until my demands are met.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will keep setting these House of Representatives members on fire until the Dow is appeased.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
Oh my
Do we
God.
got?
All right,
do we,
Pete, hit them with the socials.
you can follow us on Twitter at, is it at those Muckrakers?
At those Muckrakers on Twitter. And they can email us where?
I believe it's those Muckrakers at Gmail.
Gmail.com. That is right.
Yeah.
And
I don't have access to any of that.
yeah, we got to send you all the passwords and stuff. And you
Yeah.
can follow Bobby. Where can they follow you?
Oh, well, I mean, it's kind of, I have a very lame Twitter account at Captain Bobbers. It's CAPTBOBBERS. And a quick shout out, like I did a shout out in the last one, to just random people that we don't know, but I find awesome. If you're on YouTube, you like YouTube, you want to watch more YouTube, a great YouTube channel is Vicky1999. That's VIKI1999. It's just awesomeness, talking about all kinds of different topics. Had a recent video, the global takeover of China, the Belt and Road Initiative, which would be an awesome topic for discussion here. Is China putting countries into debt traps, or are they just trying to build some goddamn roads? And yeah, but no, she's a really awesome YouTuber, very sweet person. She has had some mental health issues, but she's working through them. And if you want to throw her some money on her Patreon so that she can get the help she needs, that's also awesome. But you don't have to if you don't want to.
Also, if you want to
yeah.
set up a Patreon for us,
if you would like to set up a Patreon for us, you can.
or a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo or whatever.
I like our old scheme where we just have people deliver gold bars to Wesley, and he has to then drive them all to the bank and sell them, then bring us the cash.
No,
people get throwing gold bars in my house again.
If you would like to support the show, please send a $5 green dot card to P.O. Box.
I really think if we want to get money, we got to hit the old demographic, and we got to just televangelize and just like we got to Jim Baker it. We got to sell old people food for the apocalypse.
Buy our books, Dust Belt, Give Me Back My Life, Super Lad. There's a bunch more coming.
Yep.
Follow us on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/those muckrakers. We're at YouTube on youtube.com/.
I mean, we're literally anywhere that you can get podcasts. Like we're on Apple, iTunes.
Yeah.
And if you're on YouTube,
in theory,
like,
we'll start putting the sound bites up
for the algorithm. All hail the algorithm.
Yep.
All the algorithm.
Well,
now we're on video now. If you're listening to this,
something.
the sound version of this, there's video now. You can see our faces.
Yay! We're super cute. You should check out our YouTube channel and like and subscribe and ring the bell. And yes,
like and subscribe if you want to actually see Science Island become real.
Yes.
If we get enough money, we will make Science Island. We will kidnap smart people and make them fight to lead our government.
Suddenly, Pete Science Corner will have a new, darker connotation to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you.